Have you ever watched a man worth billions read his own words back to him, live, on camera, and realize he cannot defend a single one of them? You're about to. By 2:47 a.m., the post was already live. By 4 a.m., it had been screenshotted 11,000 times. By the time the sun came up over the East Coast, journalists were reading it aloud on air with the careful, deliberate cadence of people who want to make absolutely sure they are not misquoting something. They were not misquoting anything. Every word was real. Every capital letter was intentional. Every exclamation mark was placed by the same hands that hold the nuclear codes. And somewhere across town, a production team at Jimmy Kimmel Live was already pulling the Easter Sunday clip, the Easter egg roll clip, the Truth Social timestamps, and the transcript, because what had happened over the previous 72 hours was not a news cycle. It was a case file, and Kimmel was about to open it on live television. To understand what happened in that studio on the night of April 7, 2026, you have to go back 48 hours, not to the Easter egg roll, not to the Truth Social post. You have to go back to the silence, the 4-day silence between Wednesday and Sunday, when Donald Trump did not appear publicly, did not hold a single event, did not post in his usual cadence, and the White House offered no explanation that satisfied anyone who asked. Wednesday, April 2nd, Trump's last confirmed public appearance before Easter weekend. Thursday, no appearance. Friday, no appearance. The White House issued 2 statements. Neither addressed his location. Saturday, nothing. Sunday, April 6th, 9:17 a.m. Truth Social. The post arrived without preamble, all capitals. The language was not diplomatic. The language was not measured. The language was the kind of language that appears when a filter has been removed, either deliberately or otherwise. Trump warned Iranian officials to open the Strait of Hormuz or face consequences he described in terms that left no room for interpretation. His closing, "Open the Fudimming Strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch." He added, "Praise be to Allah." 3 sentences, 12 words. One of the most stared-at social media posts in presidential history. Kimmel, returning to his desk 6 days later, printed it. He held the paper in both hands. He looked at it for a moment, the way a forensic examiner looks at a piece of evidence before placing it on the table. Not with emotion, but with the particular attention of someone cataloging exactly what they are holding. Then he read it aloud. Monday, April 7th, White House South Lawn, 10:42 a.m. The Easter egg roll had been arranged around a patriotic theme. America's 250th birthday. 40,000 eggs across the lawn. A brass band, baby chicks in a pen near the east entrance, children in their Sunday clothes, running. Melania Trump had opened the event with a brief, warm address. The Easter Bunny stood in full costume, positioned to the president's left. Trump approached the reporters stationed at the rope line. What he said next was captured on 4 separate camera angles, all of them rolling, none of them cutting away. He told the press that Iran could be taken out by midnight tomorrow, that they would have no bridges, no power plants, no anything, that American forces had a complete targeting plan ready. That his personal preference, setting aside the military option, would be to simply take the oil and make a substantial profit. He then walked to the children gathered on the lawn and told them about the auto pen. The Easter Bunny stayed in position. The brass band kept playing. A floor director standing near the camera bank was later described by a colleague as having stood with his headset half off for 2 full minutes after Trump left the rope line. Not moving, not speaking, just standing, the way a person stands when they are recalibrating something they believe to be fixed. Monday, April 7th, El Capitan Theater, Hollywood, 6:30 p.m. rehearsal. Kimmel's writing team had spent the afternoon building the segment. The structure was deliberate, not a monologue, not a comedy bit, something closer to what Kimmel's team internally called a controlled read. The kind of segment where the material is so dense and so real that the host's job is not to decorate it, but to present it with enough space around each piece for the audience to take the full weight. The scaffolding was laid in 4 sections. Section 1, the Easter Sunday Truth Social post, read verbatim. Section 2, the Easter egg roll clip, played without commentary. Section 3, Trump's 2:14 a.m. rage post response to the segment, read in the same flat voice as the original. Section 4, the inventory, a sequential presentation of Trump's rolling Iran deadlines laid side by side. The scaffolding was not visible to the audience. That was the point. Kimmel would present it as a conversation, but underneath the conversation was a structure. Each section placed the way a surgeon places an instrument before an operation. Precisely. Without ceremony, in the order that the procedure requires. Monday, April 7th, live taping, 11:05 p.m. Kimmel walked out. The applause was longer than usual. the particular warmth of an audience receiving someone back after a week that had felt, as Kimmel put it immediately, like a full year. He picked up the printed Truth Social post. He read it aloud, every word, every capital letter, every exclamation mark. The room received it in pieces, a ripple of laughter at the absurdity of the opening, a quieting at the middle, and then something harder to categorize when he hit the final line. Not silence exactly, not laughter, the sound a room makes when it cannot decide which response is appropriate and settles, uncomfortably, for both at once. Kimmel put the paper down. "If your grandfather sent this text," he said, "you would have him straight to the emergency room, right? No detour. Straight there. You would be putting on shoes before you finished reading it." The studio released. The laugh was long and genuine and slightly too loud, the sound of relief more than amusement. Kimmel waited for it to settle. Then he played the clip. The clip ran for 47 seconds. Trump at the rope line, the Easter Bunny visible over his left shoulder, the brass band audible behind everything. His voice was flat and certain. Bridges, power plants, nothing, oil, profit. The band played on. A child's laugh was briefly audible somewhere off camera. The clip ended. The studio was quiet. Kimmel looked at his audience, not performing, not setting up a punchline, just looking. "That," he said, "is the scaffolding, not the threat, not the war. The scaffolding, the structure that has been built piece by piece to hold something standing that by every measure of logic and history should have fallen a long time ago." One person in the front row began to applaud and then stopped, as though catching themselves doing something that didn't fit the moment. Kimmel nodded slightly, as if he understood. "He's the only president," he continued, his voice finding its steadier register, "who teases a bombing the same way ABC promotes episodes." The studio came apart, not at the line itself, at the line arriving after everything that preceded it, after the Truth Social read, after the clip, after the scaffolding. The laugh was the sound of a room that had been holding tension for 4 minutes and finally found the door. The segment did not end with the laugh. Kimmel straightened. His voice dropped one register. The shift his audience has learned to recognize as the signal that what follows will not be comedic. He laid out the rolling deadlines. Tuesday becoming Wednesday. The 48-hour threats that became 72-hour threats that became rolling threats with no fixed horizon. Each deadline screenshotted and placed beside the next. The scaffolding of the escalation made visible, in sequence, the way a forensic timeline is presented, not to make an argument, but to let the facts arrange themselves into the shape they already occupy. He could start a world war over a time zone error, Kimmel said. He didn't specify if midnight tomorrow means our tomorrow or their tomorrow. He paused. "Things are running like a Swiss watch, folks," the studio laughed, but quieter this time. The kind of laugh that knows it is also not entirely a laugh. Kimmel looked at the camera. 3 seconds. The flat, direct look of a man who is finished performing and has something left to say. "The scaffolding is coming down tonight," he said, "and what's underneath it doesn't look like a joke." He held the look for one more second. Then the show moved on. By 2:14 a.m. Trump had responded. The post arrived in capital letters, fury compounding with each sentence, exclamation marks clustering at the ends of words like they were trying to escape. Each denial was specific. Each denial was, within minutes, screenshotted and placed beside the clip it denied. On one half of a split screen, Kimmel, composed, clinical, the Easter clip still visible on the monitor behind him. On the other half, all capitals, escalating fury, the digital residue of a man trying to outshout footage that has no volume setting. The juxtaposition did not need commentary. It was the segment extended by its own subject into the early hours of the morning. By 4 a.m., a journalist who had covered the White House for 11 years posted a single sentence on social media. "I have no framework for this." The post received 200,000 responses within the hour. Most of them were variations of the same thing. "Neither do we." Across the country, in living rooms and on phones and on monitors in newsrooms, people were watching the Easter clip again. The brass band, the bunny, the war announcement, the children somewhere off camera. Not because they had missed something the first time, because they were still trying to confirm that what they had seen was real. The scaffolding is still standing, but the light is different now. And once you've seen what it's holding up, you cannot unsee it. If this changed how you see power, hit subscribe. If it didn't, watch it again. The details you missed the first time are the ones that matter most. Notifications on. Next one drops soon.